Next we have Mr. Daniel Johnston. Daniel is currently in the second year of his career teaching senior English and history at Brisbane Boys College. He completed a graduate diploma of education with honours from QUT in 2016 and soon after began writing curriculum for a small branch of the School of Distant Education. Prior to working at a metropolitan GPS school, Daniel has had experience working in low socioeconomic public co-ed institutions as well as private and online education. Maybe here's the true all-rounder, Scott. You've lost your title. Yeah, Daniel is currently staying afloat amidst the swirling chaos of his first years in education, amidst curriculum transitions, adapting to a new career of hundreds of Jeremy high fives. So, DJ, you're an early career teacher, and I think your place on the panel is really important because it's very good to hear experts in the profession with decades of experience, but sometimes that can get lost, especially when we're so young, especially when we're just entering the profession. And sometimes it's really valuable just to hear someone in their second year of teaching. So you've elected to talk about your experience thus far in the profession and how to avoid burnout as a young teacher. And like Scott was echoing, that work-life balance and being able to effectively teach and learn those things, but also not to get too jaded and burn out, because a recent study said we've got upwards of 50% of teachers dropping out in the first 5 years of their profession. So it shows me that these students in their first 5 years, these young teachers, something needs to be done. So you've got your boots on the ground. What advice could you give us to not burn out and to stay with the profession?
Well, like you said, I am new. So unlike the other people on this panel with years of experience and lots of expertise, I'm a little bit more egocentric, and tonight I'm going to talk about myself as opposed to the systems that are going on. But like pretty much all of you, I have just left where you are, and I am potentially your immediate future. So what I wanted to talk about is really what it's like to adapt to a new career. And something that Scott has started talking about, and I wanted to bring up first, is you have just spent the last 2 to 4 years focusing all your energy on accomplishing something, and you just have. And it might be for idealistic reasons, you might have very personal aspirations, alongside Louis was talking about, where you're trying to accomplish, you're trying to change minds, you're trying to influence individuals and give something back to the world. But what you have now is a job. And sometimes it's hard to adjust to that because you think you're going to come into a classroom, you're going to goodwill hunting, you're going to Dead Poet Society, you're going to change lives. Yeah. And then you find yourself in board meetings and answering emails and dodging phone calls from parents and being yelled at or witnessing other adults yell at each other in a staff room, and now you're at the mercy of office politics as well. And that's something that can be very confronting. And I think part of it is when you're a Prac student, you're looking at this as this ideal profession, and it's something that you're trying to accomplish, all these great things, all this effort that you've been putting into crafting the perfect lesson and differentiating and unit planning and coming up with all these resources is no longer sustainable, because now you have 2 extra lines and a whole lot of other social and professional commitments that will get in the way of that. And the first thing that was really important for me was to build a support network. And that can be outside of school, that can be within the school. It definitely should take some form within the school, and that's attaching yourself to other staff. So if that's very difficult for you, a good way is to look for feedback or look for advice if you find it hard to approach people, and that's a very great way to invite people into your circle. So say like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or is this something that you think could work here? And that will say that I want you to talk to me, I want you to share what you have. And most people respond very positively to that. And that helped me a lot in my first couple of days, in my first couple of meetings, in my first couple of years. That's where I am now. I'm still in that boat. I do not have it figured out. I am stressed a lot. I don't sleep very much at marking and reporting times, but I am managing and I still love my job. And that's something that's really important. And that support network is what's got me there, and that's outside and inside. As Scott said, having personal boundaries. I do not work on Friday afternoons. Friday afternoons are sacred to me, apart from obviously this evening. I'm on holiday, so the schedule's off a little bit. But what I do on Friday afternoons, I have a couple of close friends that I make sure we get together if we can. If other life commitments don't get in the way, we get together, we share a coffee, a drink, we talk about school. We get that teacher talk stuff out of the way, and then we can focus on our own lives again. all the stuff that we've pent up and afraid of repeating in front of our peers perhaps, or unleashing on those particularly difficult students perhaps. That was the first step. The second was learning to say no. And especially as a prac teacher, it's probably your instinct to say yes to everything. And people will take advantage of that. The outdoor education manager will come at you and say, let's go on camp. You can go on all these excursions. We need other supervisors. Yeah. Would you like to do extra tutoring? Would you like to coach a sport? You will want to say yes because you want to be valuable. You will not be valuable if you say yes to everything. Be polite, be forthcoming, say, hey, that does actually sound very interesting, but I'm trying to find my feet. And most times they will respect that. If they don't, it's their problem. You need to look after yourself. Your best practice, what will make the school like you, is if you are healthy, you are rested, and you have those boundaries that you set for yourself. Those are my real coping strategies straight away. There's not too much more in depth that I want to give you broad, because it is, there's no easy answer. There's no, this will lead to a balanced and healthy life. Make sure you do something outside of your job. It is important, and it will reflect better back in your own practice if you can focus on yourself from time to time. You obviously have to be making that extra effort. It is going to be chaotic. You probably get sick. You will definitely get stressed. There will be days where you do not want to go back to school tomorrow, and sometimes it's fine to take a sick day for that as well. People will not judge you if you take a day off here and there just to sleep and do some marking. Luckily, I have my job already.
So be careful, Dan. Be careful.
Hopefully, this doesn't get back to the wrong people. But there are definitely many. He's eyeing me now. But there are many ways that you can cope with stress, and part of that is building those very firm support networks inside the school, outside school. Attach yourself to people you respect. Try and take some time for yourself. If that means you have a double spare, and instead of planning that extra great lesson, you have something you know will work that isn't potentially perfect, but you go for a walk and you get a coffee, you get some sunlight, and recharge those batteries a little bit, will probably serve you better in the long run and make you feel like less of a stressed out workhorse, which will probably lead to that 52% who leave in that first 5 years who do feel like they need to be achieving all the time and putting in the same amount of effort they do in prac. You are learning. Part of learning and growing should mean that the process becomes easier, or at least you're confident enough to not have to invest the same amount of energy for the same amount of results. Obviously look to grow, but at the same time take care of yourself, I think, is the first and most important step.
Thanks, DJ.